Welcome back to the Band Guide. I'm your band guy, Colin, and this is another 5-minute GarageBand expert where I'm bringing you 30 tips and tricks for mixing and recording in GarageBand in 30 days. Today, I just want to share a quick tip with you on how to add a kick sub to your mix. A kick sub is basically the kick drum, but only the sub frequencies, the frequencies 100 Hz or 75 Hz and below. This is just to add the extra weight to that kick sound. This is not for every mix. A lot of mixes do not need this. A lot of times you can get the low end from the kick drum already in your samples or from the bass guitar or other bass sources that you need in your mix. But if you're finding, man, I really just need a little more kick, low end in this mix, then definitely try this out. Our goal here is to take an electronic sample and use it to fill in that sonic space and make it sound like an organic sample that's matching this kick drum exactly. So it just sounds like a natural part of the kick drum as if it was recorded in a professional studio. In a professional studio, for a kick sub, you would use basically a reverse speaker, a really big microphone that only captures the sub frequencies of the kick drum. And then you would blend that in with other mics you have on the kick drum and the overall drum sound to get that low frequency from the kick drum into your mix. Let's go ahead and dive in and listen to what that sounds like in this example. If I take it out, back in. So it's subtle, it's tucked pretty low. You don't want this to be really loud, but it definitely is adding that low frequency. If you're listening in good headphones, you can definitely hear this. So how did I do this? So if you haven't already watched my video on multi-tracking out your drums, be sure to check that out. That's how we have these drums all split out like this. I'll link to it above. But once you've done that, if you've decided you want a little more kick drum sub, then what we want to do is we want to duplicate our kick track here, and we're just going to drag this down. Now, on this track, the way we separated it out is we just turned off everything except that kick drum. Because we're going over to the digital samples, we're going to have to actually delete everything except that kick drum from this track. So let's listen to that in solo. So you can see the kick drum is this C1 right here. So we want to delete anything other than that, and we can do that simply by just dragging above and delete anything above. And then if your track has anything below, just drag below and delete anything below. Now we have just the kick drum. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit Y to bring up our library. And we're going to go over to electronic drum kits. Let's listen to what one of these sounds like. Now these are all mapped the same. So that kick drum will be a kick drum on each one of these samples here. That's pretty cool. So we could mix this in if we wanted like a sampled drum sound here. Create kind of like a hybrid drum kit sound. But in this example, I'm going for something a little more organic sounding. So I found this seismic sample to be pretty good. Let's listen to that. Super low. But it has a bit of attack that we don't necessarily need because we're getting a lot of the click from the kick drum. So we're going to go into this channel EQ that's on this track, and we're going to turn off this high shelf and low shelf that it already is built on, and we're going to use a high pass or a low pass filter to cut out anything that's really above that 100 Hz, 75 Hz range. Let's listen to this in solo. I want it to be pretty aggressive. And bring it just a little lower. What we're really looking for is this down here. And then I also want to do a high pass filter just to make sure that there's nothing going on below this point that we can hear. You can see that it's kind of continuing, and you're not going to necessarily be able to hear that, but on a really big subwoofer, it might just feel really loose and get in the way of other low-end frequencies. So we're just going to make sure that's not getting in the way of anything else and just cut it right there at 20 Hz with a high pass filter. And that's it. And now we're just going to mix this up into our sound and get it to the right level. Let's listen to that here. Pretty cool, right? Now, less is going to be more with this. You definitely don't want to do too much of a kick sub because it can really get in the way of other low end sources. Mix it in gently, mix it in subtly. If you're really hearing it, I'd scale it back a little bit. But if you're not sure if it's really in there, try muting it in your mix. And if you notice that it drops out, then it's probably at a really good level. If you mute it and you don't notice any difference at all on a good pair of headphones or studio speakers, then maybe bring it up just a little bit. Remember, less is more, but this can add a cool kick sub to any drum mix. If you haven't already, be sure to grab my 6-step checklist to make GarageBand drums sound real. I've put together this checklist that just walks through 6 steps to make your drums sound way more real. It multi-tracks out the drums and then it processes them in different ways to really get a realistic drum sound in your mix. If this video is helpful for you, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.
One thing at a time.